Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the streaming Wasteland here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where I take three streaming services and pick one previously released film off of each. And since it's released on a Friday, hopefully you'll have a nice full weekend full of movies to check out. And for this week, I'm going to be highlighting Netflix, Disney Plus, and Mubi. And let's get started with something a little heavy, but also inspirational over on Netflix, and that is 1990s Awakenings. And this focuses on Dr. Sayer, who's a pioneering neurologist who wants to take a risk and give his patients who suffer from encephalitis a drug used for Parkinson's disease. And this film is directed by Penny Marshall, based off of the book by Oliver Sacks. So basically, Robin Williams is who gives such a fantastic, understated performance in this film that really delivers as this fictionalized version of Oliver Sacks. But it's really the duo of Robin Williams and his great performance and one of his patients, Leonard Lowe, played by Robert De Niro, who has to do a lot physically with this role, really sells the emotion of this role. This film also is filled out with a lot of character actors throughout that really fill out whether they work at the hospital or they're some of the patients. There's a lot of great physicality in the performances due to the illness that a lot of them are suffering from. I just love the tenderness between Williams and De Niro in terms of their connection that they develop over the course of this film. It's a moving, like I said, inspiring story. And it's an interesting exploration of the process of medicine and what, doctors and scientists can do to help revolutionize medicine and also help people's lives and improve their quality of life. And this film is probably not one of the films that you first think of from Robin Williams, but I think he gives such an incredible performance. It's less showy than a lot of his performances, and maybe that's why it doesn't stick out as much. But I thought he was incredible in this. De Niro gives such a vulnerable performance in this, which is very different because so much of the time his vulnerability and performances are through like rage or um violence, but here it's through this this balance that he's trying to find in his life here as he's trying to, come out of this cloud that he's lived in for so long. It's a powerful film, and I would obviously 100% recommend it. Now let's head over to Disney Plus and highlight one of those Disney animated films from one of the more bygone eras of Disney animation, which was the 1970s. This was not one of the prolific early stages of, Snow White and Pinocchio and Fantasia. This isn't the Renaissance from, the 80s into the 90s with Little Mermaid and The Lion King and Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. This is a time where it's like, there are some fun films, and I'm not saying this is a fantastic film, but I'm highlighting 1973's Robin Hood. And what I appreciate most about this is which it gives a very unique personality to this story and atmosphere, as obviously this tells the story of a legendary British outlaw portrayed with characters as anthropomorphic animals this time around. So obviously makes a lot of sense that Robin Hood is a fox, and you have Little John, who's a big bear, aka just, a different colored blue, because they even recycle shots, which I think that's one of the challenging things. Like, I'm not saying this is a great animation feat because at this point, Disney was really recycling a lot of their animation, but it's the it's the how it's leveraging the era and how this is like a folksy country music infused Robin Hood. And I find that very interesting. And directors Wolfgang Reitherman, along with David Hand, who was uncredited on the film, bring a lot of charm to this film. And you have Alan Dale the Rooster, played by Roger Miller, who does a lot of this like country music performing in this film that brings it this very unique kind of experience to the film. You have Brian Bedford, who plays Robin Hood, who's sly as a fox, but we could get behind him. I love Phil Harris as Little John. He just brings so much personality. But you have the likes of, Peter Ustinov, who plays Prince John the Lion here. Such a great classic film actor who brings a lot of personality. Andy Devine, who plays Fire Tuck a badger, who just acts like this. And it's just all that. And Pat Bertram, who's the sheriff of Nottingham, who just has that very twangy Western kind of feel to him. And I think he he was from Alabama and has that like really southern kind of feel. So if you're looking for a strange like revisionist version of Robin Hood that has like this country music infused kind of feel to it, and it's a bunch of animals, which is also fun. This is a very different kind of Robin Hood story, and it certainly has its charm, and one that I definitely watched a lot as a kid, and I think it's a fun time. It's also like 73 minutes. I know 83 minutes, so not a big ask either. And lastly, over on Mubi, I have The Limey. And this is a Steven Soderbergh film who recently released Presence, which was a very inventive film for him. And this is a lean 89-minute crime thriller with some dark comedy. An extremely volatile and dangerous Englishman goes to Los Angeles to find the man he considers responsible for his daughter's death. And you have, like I mentioned, Soderbergh, who just brings a cool to this. There's some interesting filmmaking choices. Like you will have like a shot of a character in a moment, and this character talking about something else over it. And it adds like this layer and feel to the cinematic experience. Like there's something textured and layered to what's really going on in that scene. I think Terrence Stamp is intense and intimidating as the titular Limey, who comes in, and Wilson, this character, really has something has something to say and has some things to do, and he is not going to be stopped. And this has a great cast, like Luis Guzman, who plays like his contact when he comes over. I like him a lot. You have Peter Fonda, who's such a strange antagonist to this film, but I really do feel like it's more Joe D'Alessandro who really comes in as the the heavy of the antagonists, and his dynamic in this film. There's some great chases in this. It's an interesting film that really explores you know, the power of loss. Barry Newman, I think's a real standout here. He has some really interesting conflicts with Terrence Stamp's character. There's a cool chase sequence in this. It has a very interesting and unique kind of shootout. It has some really dark revelations about what really went on here. And for such a lean and crazy kind of flick, it really delivers some interesting experience. And anytime you watch a Soderbergh film, it's going to have a very unique kind of feel, a very Soderbergh kind of feel to it. And this certainly delivers. And, you know, don't go in expecting a ton of action or anything like this, but it's something that really does deliver an interesting atmosphere and really anchored down by an intense and memorable Terrence Stamp performance. But that's a wrap here on the streaming wasteland. So let's do a little recap. We're going to head on over to Netflix and check out 1990's Awakenings. Then on Disney Plus, we have 1973's Robin Hood. And lastly, over on Mubi, we have 1999's The Limey. But thank you for listening. Let make sure to follow make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What's your like that random old Disney animated film that people talk enough about, but you really get behind? And what's one of your underappreciated Robin Williams performances? And Soderbergh has a lot of very interesting films. What are some of the ones that stand out for you? Make sure to follow, subscribe, or you'll listen to your podcast. We're ever expanding here at the SPM Crew Podcasting Network with a lot of new great shows focusing on Tolkien with Middle Earth lore and some new music ones and a whole bunch of new ones in terms of movies and stuff like that. So if you can't get enough movies by just listening to mine, you'll have some others. And if you like our logo, make sure to go check out High Flyer Creative for all your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the streaming wasteland here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.